Welcome everybody, my name is Laurie Gagne and I'll be bringing you Relic News. First, we'll be starting off with Brad from the Hoover Boys. Brad started metal detecting when he was 13 years old. And when he was about 10 or 11, he had seen somebody metal detecting. He had built up the nerve to go and talk to him to see what was happening, because all he can remember was he was putting stuff in his pockets. The gentleman was really kind and actually showed him a diamond ring he had found. And that was it. He had to have one. Now his passion for treasure hunting started a lot earlier. And here's Brad explaining that.
I was a money grubber. Yes. My parents called me a money grubber. Grocery stores were the number one for me, probably. Just down every single aisle, just like this on the ground, just looking under anything I could possibly get under. And, as far as my hand would reach under whatever it was, I'd try to get a quarter. And, I'd have like a handful of change, put it into my piggy bank and off to the next store. It's like, Mom, where are we shopping today? I want to find money. First unit was a Radio Shack. Your classic $119.99 piece of junk. Can't find a quarter on a linoleum floor kind of a setup. I used that for at least a couple years. And I did find my first gold ring with that on a beach. Go figure, wet sand. I don't know how I did it, but I did. I guess I was hooked from that point on. And then I went to a Quick Draw 2 by Bounty Hunters, a Christmas present. I was probably, 13, 14. And I used the crap out of that. And I guess from there I graduated to a White's IDX Pro, which was, the one that I bought when I was 16 with my own money, kind of a big deal. And, I used that for a long time. I used that for maybe 10 years, at least through high school. Made some other great finds with that. I guess I found my Cartier gold watch with that. So that's a good memory. Tried a bunch of other brands after that. I lived in Texas for a while, and I used to pick them up on Craigslist here and there and play them, fart around with them, learn them, then sell them. So I, played with a lot of Tesoros. I played with some Garretts and a few Fishers. I had a Fisher CZ5 in there. The Tejon, I had a 2500 series Garrett. And then I eventually made my way back to a White's M6, and I swung the M6 for at least a year before getting into the F75, got back to Fisher, and now I have, I think, 3 F75s. That's really excessive and completely unnecessary. But I love the F75. It's a really chirpy machine. I've used it for at least 2 years, and it speaks to me and seems to work well. So that's where I'm at.
Now I asked Brad what type of hunting he likes.
I'm a coin shooter. I mean, I love hitting a schoolyard, an old schoolyard. I love digging relics, and I love swinging in the beach, but I'm a coin shooter. When I find a barber dime or a seated dime or something, it's just like, for me, it's a coin. And I mean, I love finding the buttons. I love finding the bullets, but coin shooter at heart. And then I love low tide beach detecting, walking all the way up the beach and all the way back down the beach and, coming back with 20 crusty pennies and 40 bobby pins. It's great. Yeah, I was digging at an old home site. Home was no longer there. It was a late 1800s house. And I got a, blow your headphones off your ear kind of a signal behind a tree. And if you're under a big, huge tree and you get a big signal like that, you have to dig it because people put valuables next to property markers, such as a big tree or, a well or something else in the backyard. So dug it up, big toolbox, really excited, hand shaking, trying to get into the rusted lock. Like, here it is. This is my big break. I finally made it. I'm going to make the headlines. Crack that thing open. Nothing. Soggy, gross water in the bottom and a couple of bones. Because I dug up the family pet. Most memorable find, yes. I unearthed Fido, and we shed a tear, me and my friend that were there. And we put him back in the ground, and that was it.
Now I asked Brad if there was that one coin in particular that he would like to find.
there are two coins. One is a specific coin, and the other coin is a general answer. The general answer is the very obvious bucket lister for many treasure hunters, and it's the gold coin. I want the U.S. gold coin. I don't care if it's a tiny little $1 or a full-on double eagle. That would be fantastic either way. It would be just as special. I want a gold coin. So that's the general answer. The specific coin that I need and have not found, for some reason, is a seated quarter. Where is my seated quarter? Because it doesn't seem to be in this county, state, or I don't know. I can't get on a seated quarter. I've never found a seated quarter. Rub it in, Laurie.
Now, I also asked Brad, as a treasure hunter, what was the biggest score he had made?
My best score was on marked jewelry. It was 22 karat Indian jewelry. I got it at an auction. It was like $30, but it was about $12,000 worth of 22 karat fine jewelry by weight. It was insane. None of it was marked. It was just like, yes, got it. Got one, finally.
Now, back in 2014, Brad had met up with Kurt, aka Ginger Bear. Now, they had met at the Maryland Free State. Now, when I asked him, how did the Hoover Boys all start? Well, this is what he had to say.
I had no idea what he was up to. And I don't know if he knew exactly what he was up to. It just like crashed together and worked. Yeah, I met him January or February, somewhere around there, 2014, and, kept bumping into him at club outings at various parks, and, we have similar digging styles, and he just eventually put everything together, kind of, and, we were named from another person in the club, and, he was detecting with Hoover. They called his machine Hoover because he hooves everything out of the ground. You've heard the story. Yeah, somebody else said Hoover Boys, and it all came together, and I guess it was January 2015, and we all went to a park in Baltimore and met up, and he did the intro where we're all wearing our jackets and stuff there in the beginning of the videos. That was January 2015, and it's fun. I like to dig. If you want to record me, it's fine. And, I didn't sign on the dotted line, Kurt. But no, it's been fantastic. He's an amazing dude. He does all the freaking work. It's hours and hours of editing. Good thing is he likes it. But I've been kind of along for the ride and enjoying every second of it. And we just, we don't do it for the fame and certainly not for the fortune. There's no fortune. It's just for the love of the hobby.
Now I'll be featuring Guy Token. I first came across him approximately 6 years ago on the CanadianMetalDetecting.com forum. I was honestly fascinated by his finds. He first started off with a Bounty Hunter 2000. He had found a 1701 Spanish Real, and that was it. His passion had begun. From there on, he had purchased the Tesoro Cortez. He had used this machine for approximately 3 years and made more incredible finds. Then, recently, he had started hunting the water, and he had purchased his Excalibur 2. He has found rings, but he has to say that his best finds were found along the shoreline where the first settlers first arrived. He also found a rare blacksmith's token that is valuated between $3,000 to $5,000. He also found this incredible gold watch. This dates between 1866 and 1898. His best water finds would have to be his fur trade artifacts. Last year, he picked up his XP Deus and had returned to some old sites and continued to find some incredible artifacts. Now we'll be featuring Frank W Pendo Z. He has always loved history. He mainly uses the Garrett and Tesoro, but he has used almost every single detector out on the market. When I asked Frank what his most memorable moment was, he said he had so many. This would have to include his love for American history. This has brought him to so many places that he would never have expected, including exploring Egyptian ruins in America. This includes filming his TV series called Exploring History's Treasures.
Uninhibited land for almost 100 years, footsteps return in search of traces of the past. Two experienced adventurers tracking clues to the ruins of civilization and discovering treasures left behind. Join host Frank W. Pandozzi.
You got a ghost town back here for sure.
Kind of, what would be your dig tip to people that are exploring a new ghost town or a new cellar site for the very first time?
Okay. Well, there's a lot of different things that you can look for. Basically, Lori, what we do is we look for anything out of the ordinary. But if, in fact, we are going to go to a new area, we still use the same techniques that we used to use years ago. And basically, we're looking for out of the ordinary things, something that jumps out at you that shouldn't be there. For instance, here in the east where I live, if you're driving down the road, you see a patch of pine trees, and then all of a sudden there's this one big old maple tree in the middle, just pops up out of nowhere. That gets our heart rate up just a little bit. Maple trees, especially if there's one, they don't just all of a sudden pop up and start growing. If somebody had to have planted that. So what we do is we'll get out. Now, if it's private property, before we go any further, we've got to get permission from the property. If, in fact, we can go back, we've got permission, and we see that old maple tree, we will start looking for things like depressions in the ground, maybe bits of pottery, small pieces of pottery shards, or broken pieces of glass. Because if we can find these things, now that tells us that there was, at one time, maybe a cellar hole or a ghost town in the area. Somebody planted that tree, and we want to know who it was. Now, if we don't find things like pottery shards or pieces of glass, we'll look for what is called the plant myrtle. It's a low-growing, green, four-leaf ground cover. It only grows maybe 3 to 4 inches off the top of the ground. Now, years ago, when the first settlers came over to this country, when they settled, they used periwinkle or myrtle as ground cover. And they used it for 2 reasons. The main reason was they wanted to stop erosion around the property. You know, once they built these holes, the cellars were so deep into the ground, they wanted to make sure, especially if it was a wet area, that the sides did not cave in from erosion. So what they would do is plant periwinkle around the cellar. Once you plant it, it just grows fast. Then we know we've got something in the area that we hopefully it's a cellar hole, hopefully it's an old ghost house. Things like that, okay, are real tip-offs.
You can follow Frank on Facebook and also through his website. I'll leave the details in the description below. Now here is an amazing moment caught on video. Now when I asked Willie what led up to him finding this amazing cache, and here he is to explain. So now tell me, you got out on January 1st. Can you tell me a little bit of what happened that day? Who were you hunting with?
Doug Bowden and Kevin Kerrigan were the 2 guys that invited me out for the day. And that was my first time ever meeting them, actually, was that day. It was found right out front, probably 10 feet from the front door. in between two sets of trees, 5 feet to the main street. Just so happened to swing the coil over the spot. Wasn't a great signal. Started digging, and it was first thing out of the hole was a big iron spike. Yep, and that was the crappy tone, which almost I didn't dig. Started digging, and then it was foul. First real comes out of the ground. You know, we're all freaking out.
1780. Yeah, 1780. Yeah. Oh my God. That's silver, man. Where is Kevin? Good job.
And then what was the second thing to appear in the hole?
The second one was another real.
Pull it out of there, man.
Let me see if I can get a light on it.
Pull it out. Man, now that'll get you find of the month. 2 in 1 hole. Look how shiny that is, huh? Oh my God. Oh my God, dude.
Wow. So how many exactly did you pull out of it, that hole?
It was 6 coins total.
Good job, man. Are we gonna go for round 3 here?
Oh.
Hold on, wait. Another one.
Oh my God.
Whoa, you got yourself, what do they call that? A stash? No, cash.
His hand's shaking.
Oh, my whole body is shaking.
This doesn't happen every day, you know that.
I know it.
3 in 1 hole.
But you and Kevin both have found.
Oh.
Wow.
3 in 1
Third
hole.
one,
Oh
yeah.
no, this isn't a Spanish real. I don't think it is.
Looks silver.
It's silver, but it's got like a matron head on it though.
Oh.
And it says Liberty on the top.
Oh, yeah, that's American.
The gold coin was actually the 5th coin out.
1993.
Yeah.
Wow.
4 in 1 hole.
1793. Holy
Are we gonna go for 5?
Do it.
Ah! Oh my goodness!
Are you serious?
Oh my goodness!
Actually,
The gold coin.
Holy
No
cow!
way.
It's gold! It's gold!
No way.
First 4, that's gold!
Everybody's getting kisses
get it
before
out
I
of
leave
there.
here today.
Get it out of there.
Oh.
Come on. No. No.
Yeah! Oh, it's got stars on it!
He's just pulled
It's a
out
gold
just
$5, I bet!
17,
I can't believe this. I can't believe this. I can't believe this. Oh,
1700. Yeah.
it's gold, right?
That's gold.
That is gold!
Look at the detail on that. Oh my God.
Dude!
I'm about to wet myself.
This is like the find of a lifetime for any treasure hunter. I don't know. Oh!
They're just like how you like me now?
Not gold.
Someone put a little stash in the ground.
Not gold. Oh, he's disappointed in silver now. What is it?
1781.
1781.
So someone left these.
Just, you know, a huge shout out and thank you to Doug Bowden, Kevin Kerrigan, and just a big thanks to everybody for this whole thing. It's been great.
There's also an event that will be taking place. Now here's Willie explaining on what him and Doug Bowden are working on. So your friend Doug, who was there at this hunt with you, is actually organizing an event. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Yep. We're calling it the Penguin Dig. You know, fun little group get together for just everybody, just to get them out and, you know, have fun, you know, meet some new people. And it's being put on by Awesome Relics New England. It's going to be a lot of fun. It might be a little cold, but I think that's the whole point, you know, just to see who'll get out and, you know, take some chances and find some cool stuff.
Now I'll be featuring Diggin Canada. He started coin collecting at about 10 years old. Now, at the age of 13 years old, his aunt had bought him a National Geographic's metal detector. 2 years later, his parents had purchased him the Bounty Hunter, and he had found his first silver ring. From that time on, he was hooked. He loved the hobby so much that back in 2013, he had purchased his CTX 3030. Now this year, he has found 286 silver coins. Now, when I asked him what his most memorable hunt was, it was this summer that he was down at his parents' cottage and they were visiting a local beach. Now, he was metal detecting in the water while his mother was swimming around, and she swam over to him to give him a hand to scoop up a signal. Now, when he pulled it out, it turned out to be a gold ring. Now, that was a moment that he had shared with his mother and that he'll never forget. Back in December of 2015, he had found his favorite find, and that would have to be his oldest silver coin to date, which is an 1845 1 shilling.
Holy crap. Guys, I think this is a really old coin. Holy heck. Look at this. That looks like a Queen Victoria, but an older one. I don't even think this is... I don't know if this is Canadian or not. Oh my gosh. This is probably my oldest silver coin ever. Oh my gosh. Looks like an 1845 1 shilling.
Now I'll be featuring Leighton Harrington. Leighton has been a treasure hunter at birth, and it all starts with his name. Here he is to explain.
My name, Leighton, was derived from an English term, piece of 8. Well, a piece of 8 is like the number 8, E-I-G-H-T. So, isn't that cool? So I was born a treasure hunter, yes.
Here's a little more on how he got started.
How I got started was my uncle and my dad owned a coin shop. You'll have vendors come into the coin shop, and they brought metal detectors one year. At the end of that year, my uncle and my dad had only sold 3 of the 5 machines that came into the shop, so that left 2 left over for the year. My uncle purchased one, and my dad purchased one. Now, I grew up here in New England on a beach, literally on the beach. It was a White's 66 TR. In fact, if you look, that's a 1972 model. That's my very first metal detector I ever had. We did do a lot of schoolyards, parks, the normal areas, common areas that we'd all go into. I found myself going down to the beach. First coin was a 1919 $half. I was hooked. I actually rode down to the beach with the metal detector on my banana seat bike with the coil hanging off of my handlebars.
I asked Leighton what machines he uses.
You know I'm using a CTX. I also have my Excalibur right here in the corner. So those are my 2 machines I have now. I don't have any other machines. I got 2 Mine Labs. That's my water machine that Ryan Anderson and Pete Anderson made my special shaft for me because I love orange, as you can see.
Now I also asked him what his most memorable hunt was.
Yeah, I've got a couple. Actually, when Steve Zazulik from Oak Island series came in.
Kind of scratchy. But if you look at the numbers and where this is, that's telling me 6 inches. And it sounds good. Sounds like nice low tone. Sounds good. Oh. Hey, Steve. Come on over, buddy. check this out. Had a nice one. Oh!
Holy cow.
Oh. 6 inches deep, nice and low, grunty, perfect.
I'm shocked.
I am. Dude, 2 for the day.
That is awesome, buddy.
And what his favorite find is.
When I found a continental currency coin, and it's a silver dollar, they were only made in 1 year, 1776, but they weren't issued until 1777. They made them in 3 different metals. One was bronze, one was pewter, and one was silver. I got the pewter one. Basically, had a big range in what they were used for, and the pewter ones were only used as tokens. They weren't good for anything. Now, here's the rarest one, the pewter one. The reason being is because people never kept them. They used to toss them. There's only 500 or less struck in the whole world, and it's with the single R in the word currency, not the double R. So it was a typo. Here's another one. I found a set of Stuart Cufflinks. They're absolutely stunning. They are on my webpage. If you look over there, you'll be able to see them. They're Stuart Cufflinks made in Stuart, England. They're made of Stuart crystal. They have gold inlay on the bottom of them, and they have the initials of the owner on the inside. They're probably they are my oldest piece of dated history as far as jewelry goes. They were made around 1670 to 1690.
Now here's a find that turned out to be a lot more valuable than he anticipated. Here's the story.
I got permission to go to this farm field. I said, oh, and kidding, as I'm walking away, he goes, and if I find any gold, I can keep that too, right? He goes, yeah, you can keep anything you want. Well, don't you know, I get a signal as I'm walking away, and I get the bullhead out of the ground. He watches me dig it. His eyes went, wow, right? It was a cufflink. You know, I've got some really nice rings in my collection that maybe I can pop the stone out, go see my jeweler, and I can marry the 2 pieces together. And that's what I did. I'm going to start doing some research on this. If someone's willing to give me $5,500 and they really don't know what it's all about, it might be worth a whole lot more. And I didn't, you know, and these are one of the things that you learn as you go on. Who used to be a jeweler, he says, are you sitting down? I said, yeah. He says, well, my wife wants to show you something. I said, what's that? So we're Skyping like you and I are doing right now, Laurie. And she holds this book from Tiffany. And on the inside of the book, it has a little tiny, tiny picture with a guy holding his arm up with a bull that's coming out of a cufflink on his arm. I said, don't even tell me that that is a Tiffany bull. He goes, there's only 3 pairs ever made. I said, are you shitting me?
Now that wraps it up for this week's episode of Relic News. I look forward to seeing everyone next week.